Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio here with you again and again and again and again, forever and ever and ever and ever. I would like to say, if you haven't caught our website for our new book that's coming out in just a couple of months, commencementthebook.com, go check it out. We're going to take over 100 college and university presidents and literally take all of the important themes and put them into a book. We started this, as you guys know, when we started this podcast, we made a commitment, Elvin and I. We said, we're going to ask every single guest what they think the future of education, of higher education, looks like. And we did that. And we have like 400 people that have told us what the future of higher ed is going to look like. What do you do with that information? Well, of course, you put it into a book and shamelessly sell it on your podcast, which is what I'm doing right now. But I do appreciate all of you that have contributed. You can go to the website, you can join our email list, you can get involved. We're going to have like advisory groups and all sorts of things, and want to give people advanced reading parties and the whole bit. And so please go check it out and give us your feedback on the site and what you think about it. I am excited again today, as I am on every episode, but I'm bringing back a guest for a second time. And in fact, this is lately, we've been, you know what's really interesting about podcasting is you get somebody at a point in time, and then as time passes, even a little bit of time, their company goes on to do amazing things. And it's like, we can't just interview this person once. We're literally now following the evolution of a movement, of an organization that's making differences. We have to get these people back on. And so that's what we're doing. But before I introduce her, I have to bring in my guest co-host. He is a very supportive, very amazing guest co-host. And I want to make sure I introduce him properly. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's the executive director of the Charles Koch Foundation. His name is Ryan Stowers.
Yahoo! Yahoo!
Ooh, was that I think that's the right one. Maybe this one's right.
Oh, yeah.
There it is, Ryan.
Thanks, Joe. Great to be here. And great to be with you, Parminder.
Thanks for having me.
You just lifted the veil on my guest, Ryan, without a proper introduction.
Sorry.
As I said at the beginning of this podcast, Ryan, we're going to have to talk about these mistakes, my friend. No, you're doing a great job. Ryan, do you want to introduce our guest today? You know her well.
I would love to. Parminder Jassal is the CEO and founder of Unmudl. And we are honored to be with her today.
She is absolutely
incredible.
There she is. Parminder, what's happening?
Thanks for having me back. You guys are hilarious.
It's Ryan. It's Ryan. And I get him on. It just makes me, ups my game because he's so good. And
I wish I could claim credit. It is all Joe.
I got to say, let me just say, Ryan, that you are one of our most downloaded episodes ever, my friend. And now Parminder is going to come on and beat you. That's what she told me before we started.
I love it.
Hey.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Parminder, where are you right now?
Right now, I'm at ASU GSV out in San Diego. It's the big future of education, higher education, future of work conference.
Amazing.
Which I love that the both of you who are there right now took time out to come talk with me. I feel very honored and privileged. Thank you very much, because I know you're both very busy, probably jumping from hotel room to breakout session to hotel room to breakout session. And so I appreciate you. Maybe this is a break. Maybe you need to sit down with me just to take a break and from all the important work that you're doing to come on my podcast. But Parminder, you, Unmudl, obviously has been a great supporter of the EdUp experience over the last year as well.
Yep.
And we've been following your work closely. I think you need to dish on what's been happening at Unmudl, because it's not just a little bit that's been happening. It's a lot that's been happening. So give us the once over.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me back. Really excited about this. And well, as you might remember, Unmudl is a skills to jobs marketplace and for a working learner. And why a working learner? It's hard to navigate the future of work and the future of learning. It's hard to navigate actually just either one of those. So for a learner, they don't want to be sacrificing having to go to college or get some education after high school and not be able to make some money. But then the flip side of that is they don't want to have to sacrifice their education because they need to make money. And so they want it to all add up to the future so that they have a great job. They have credits that can be redeemed when they want them to be redeemed. And they want to be able to work in chunks, little bit at a time. And whenever they're ready, if and ever they're ready, they can redeem it for a program at a college of their choice. So through Unmudl, that's what learners are able to do, enroll in 2, 3, 4 community technical colleges across the nation at any given time, a couple of them online, a couple of them in person, and do this in one click rather than having to be admitted, wait to hear if you got admitted, finally then enroll, and then finally go, oh, but now I need to register. Now, what semester do I register? We take all that out for the learner and make it easy to navigate that, and also get preferential interviews with employers across the nation.
I'm laughing because what you said is funny and you don't even know it. Because when I do it too. When I'm talking about the process to enroll in a college or university, I find myself singing like, you've got to go over and do this, and then the academic person needs to do that, and then you got to go over here and click 5 times. And I'm like, and I hear people do that all the time because it's this exhaustive list of things that you have to do just to take a course or just to enroll somewhere, or admissions requirements. It becomes like a song. I have to literally download a violin playing when we talk about admissions requirements. Adult students don't want any of that. And if they can't get it fast, because most of these working adults are they're going back to school to get skills or upskills so that they can go back to work, or they're working while they're going in school 95% of the time. If you don't give them something that's time sensitive and maximizes the time they have, see ya, they're going on to another school, right?
Exactly.
So I like your singing, as what I wanted to tell you. Singing is somebody that can sing. Yeah, singing is somebody that can sing through higher education. That's my guest co-host, Ryan Stowers. Ryan.
Yeah, no, I'm Parminder. I love the model. As you know, I'm a huge fan, and a group that we're affiliated with, the Stand Together Ventures Lab, is made an investment in your project, and it's just been incredible to see the progress. One thing I'm curious about is, as you've built this, you're one of the only platforms that I know of in this space that really is serving 3 clients. And so how do you align incentives across those different clients, learners, learning institutions, and employers?
That's a great question, Ryan, and it's an insightful one too. So you're right.
You stole that one from me.
So even though we're serving 3 different clients, what I want to call attention to is our primary client is the working learner. So hands down, it is the working learner that we are making transformational changes for, so that they have a future, an equitable future that is sustainable, that is flexible, that is affordable, and it makes sense, easy to navigate. And so that is the ultimate customer of Unmudl. Now, how do we make that happen? We do that with the employers and with the community and technical colleges of the nation. So employers have roles, every employer. I mean, even at Unmudl, we face this issue. We have roles that are hard to hire for, and we need lots of. So, so for employers, what we solve for is essentially, hey, if you have a role that you need to sign, that you need to hire for, has special requirements, and you really want to work across the nation because maybe you have 8 different locations, or maybe 3, or maybe even 1 location, and you need to be able to have certain requirements met. But then for the learner, they need to be able to continue with what the skills that they've built and be able to move around in a future of whatever they choose. So to be able to meet both those those needs, we align the employer with the learners and the learners with the employers through preferential hiring, through the exact course that leads to a job. So the goal is get your skills that get you a job. As far as colleges go, colleges, community colleges, technical colleges across the nation have been a major part of the backbone of America in producing the most awesome talent. Most of that talent has always been encouraged to go to a 4-year afterwards. So get your associate degree, go 4-year. It's never been enough that, hey, you know what? A certificate could do it for now. Or how about this? Maybe just one course can do it for now. And you don't have to sign up for the rest of your life in order to get to an end goal that you may not even be aware of, or you may not even be ready to sign up for. Why do you have to sign up for a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree or an 8-year doctoral degree when today you can take a course and go and get your skills and go directly into a job, and then start the work on the next course, get into a different job, take another course and get into a different job. So we align those two, the learner with the colleges, by making it easy to be able to hop back and forth between work and a course, work and a course, work and a course, and eventually you redeem all those courses into credentials, whether it's a degree or a certificate or a certification. That's how we align the 3 sides.
Level up.
Level
Love it.
up.
Love it. Joe, look, before I come back, throw it back to you, just one more question. I love the fact that you've got such personal conviction around what you're doing with Unmudl, and it's because of your personal experience. I wonder if you could just give us a quick summary of where you've been and what it meant to you to have this kind of experience, in your life, how it gave you purpose and connection.
Sure. So yeah, now we're getting personal here. So, so I'm from India and graduated from Guru Nanak Public School, Saraba Nagar, Ludhiana. That is where I graduated from. And when I came to America, I did not know what an ACT or SAT is or was, and had no desire to spend any time on it. I was introduced to the local community college. And it was there that all of a sudden the faculty came to me and said, hey, we understand you love math, but you need to work on your English skills too. So Dr. Wilson was assigned to me as my English tutor, who helped me with all my English lit, with all the assignments that were due for humanities and other classes. But yet I was also encouraged to explore computer science, just because I loved math and I loved the logical structure of the way that computers work and the way that you lay out logical equations, etc. And so I got into computer science because of faculty there. And then I was encouraged to, hey, why don't you match that up with market intelligence and relate computer science to market intelligence? If it wasn't for that journey, just for myself, and then for all of I'd say about 95% of my cousins who all immigrated from India as well, we would not be where we are today. And it's that community college experience that guided the trajectory all the way into my doctoral program. So I feel like I'm giving back, because I feel like everyone should have a community college within like 20, 30 minutes of their residence that they can get to. And my answer to your question, Joe, about, what does the future of education look like, is I see a network of community and technical colleges across our nation having the absolute best labs that can be offered anywhere and available to that community to come in and use whenever they want.
I mean, that's pretty incredible, right? When you think about that, because what's fascinating, obviously I'm on your website. I've been on your website like 100 times. And one of the things that I love and I'm wondering what kind of response you see is the language, right? We use different, and you're using different language as you talk about adult learners. When we talk about buying something and networking and interconnected colleges, it's a different language than you would speak normally in higher ed. Purchases, cart. You think about the words that are literally on your website that are words you would see on another or other similar online marketplaces for other products besides higher ed. Higher ed's never brought that type of language into this process to where, as a student consumer, because yes, students are consumers. I don't care what anybody says. You can't disagree with me on my podcast. I know you two don't, but anybody else that disagree, there are a lot of people that disagree. You buy something and you're looking for a return on it. It could be short-term, could be long-term, but you're looking for something that's a product. And the language that you're using on your website, how do students find that language to be? Is it off-putting? Is it like, oh, wow, I get this. Like I could put a class in a cart and then go take it. I mean, how does that user experience work out?
So interesting observations, I would have to say. And so we've been working with working learners to design Unmudl ever before it became a concept. They have been at the center of the user experience. And working learners, they're you and I. And we live every day using the Lyft app, the Uber app, the Airbnb app, the Hyatt Hotel app, the Amazon app, the Target app. Everybody uses those different apps or websites or Expedia or whatever it is. Name your favorite site that you use in order to get work done. Well, so to your question, Unmudl is just another way of doing things. So it is actually familiar, it's warm, and it's expected. And I think that's the bar that higher education has to really work towards, is, and not just higher education, but any education, because people are used to these things in every other aspect of life. Why not in the education domain? Why is it that you have to regress and rewind 20, 30, 40, 50 years back in order to experience what everyone believes you should be experienced, and then rewind to current day life in order to be a part of life the way it is today?
Hey, everybody, head over to www.edupexperience.com, our website, where you're going to find all of the episodes that we've recorded categorized so that you can ensure that you're spending your time listening to the podcasts that are most important to you. You're going to see the reviews of our podcasts, the shows in our network, our partners, and a section on starter episodes. If you're new to the EdUp experience, listen to those starter episodes and get a feel for how the podcast has evolved over time and our impact in the world. www.edupexperience.com. Good answer. The really interesting part of that, as you were talking, I'm going, well, higher ed education is just, especially in higher education, you could only buy one of something, right? And I think that's why, what's the point of having a cart when you're making a single, comprehensive purchase and it comes with all of these things that you want or don't want? And then I hear people talk about unbundling, and I've always had a question of, what does unbundling mean? And the college experience is bundled, right? And if you want to talk what bundling is, and it's, you get, academics, and you get the student life, and you get this and you get that. What if I only want one part of that? And community colleges have been unbundled forever, right? They've already been unbundled. But how do you unbundle the unbundled? By the way, I hate the word unbundled, and I've just said it way more times than I ever wanted to in my whole life. But how do you take multiple courses from multiple schools and put together something that starts to make sense? And that's kind of what you're doing. And then I could have a cart, and in my cart I could have like 3 or 4 products from 3 or 4 different schools, and go, oh wow, I'm really putting something together that meets my needs, right? I mean, that's it's mind blowing. And I don't even have my bomb sound effect, but that's what I should hit right now.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. And I think, one of the signals, so in order to design and develop Unmudl with the founding partners, which are 5 community colleges and then the National Institute for Staff and organizational development. NISOD, I probably got that wrong. The essence of the Futures Innovation Lab process that we used was to start identifying the futures that Unmudl needs to respond to, and what are the signals of today that are showing us and leading us into the future. So we identified 5 different futures, and I might not even be able to name them all, but things that higher education needs to respond to are the idea of instant futures. The idea that you can't just wait around when your entire life, as you know it, outside of higher education or education in general, is it shows up on a box in your doorstep in 1 hour and it pops out and you're done. But not with education. And I'm not saying that education should be done in an hour or it should pop up and give you what you need in an hour. I'm just saying access to the education needs to be instant. And then seamless. You don't stop what you're doing in order to go to pick your favorite store, Nordstrom's or something, in order to do something. You go, you know what, I need that. You pull it up, you order it, and then you're ready to go and think about it later as to what you're actually going to do with that.
Hey kids, it's the internet.
There you go. It's the internet. Collaborative. This is really interesting because anyone who's trying to do something out there on their own, it's not happening for them. It's all about networks now and the power of networks and that quantum power, quantum leaps that are being made. Sustainable and equitable are 2 of the other futures. So those are the 5 futures that Unmudl is designed against. And the signal that kept coming up over and over again is that the loyalty towards one institution of higher education is on a downhill roller coaster. If that loyalty is on a downhill roller coaster, that basically means that the loyalty of pledging your life to one institution is going out the door. If that concept is going out the door, what does that mean for higher education? And that's why the community and technical colleges decided to team up and collaborate and network, so that there's a network across America rather than, oh, I pledge my life to community college of X, because life doesn't work that way anymore.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible, Parminder and Joe. I mean, I think this conversation it's so thought-provoking and it's so important right now, given what's going on. I was getting chills as you were talking about it. I think that's where we need to be. And I just wanted to dig in a little deeper on one point, because as this innovation occurs, and I'd be curious about your perspective beyond Unmudl, because you've got such a great perspective on the broader kind of systemic change that's happening. I mean, what is the role of the employer from your perspective, and how can we help push that in the right direction? Because to me, it's a critical role, but I don't think we understand it completely.
Yeah, so I think the employer has multiple roles, but foremost, their role is to create profit and create sustainable economic growth for their company, for the community around them, for their stockholders, for their families, and for the world. So making the right decisions in order to have sustainable economic growth. And I think a lot of times that word sustainable is thrown to the wind because of decisions that are made by business in order to profit. So I think the role of employers, and I'm going to narrow it down into as far as the reliance on people, is that employers should somehow invest in people, but it doesn't always make sense. I mean, and Unmudl is an employer too, right? It doesn't make sense to invest 100% into a person when you know that the person isn't necessarily going to remain at your company for 100% of their working career, and nor do you want that. So there are overall social goals and community goals that need to be met by employers as well. Why don't we invest in the basic skills that works across our organization and allow each of the employers to pick up what is specific to them? And have the employers involved in a portion of what's being developed, but not everything. And they need to provide outcomes that are direct. If I say that this course is the one that works for me as an employer, I should be saying anyone that comes out of a course, I want to see their application. And I do want to consider them in some way for the position. And so I think the role of employers is to be clear about what they need, to be clear about what that role is, how many of those that they're projecting that they're going to be needing, and why, what that role leads to for the future for them as a company and for the people that they're bringing on, and to be clear about what level of skill is actually needed, so that other companies and other organizations can also help that individual along their journey into the future. They shouldn't own people just for their own company. It should be a greater role that they're playing to benefit the economy, whether it's locally, nationally, or internationally.
Wow, love that. Back to you, Joe.
Well, I'm glad you passed it back to me, Ryan, because like past episodes, I have a game I like to play with my guests and co-host now. Here it comes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Higher Ed Word Association with your participants today, Ryan Stowers, Parminder, Jassal. Parminder, this is where I give you a word. Ryan's been through this, I think, once or twice now.
I ruined it a couple times too, right?
Yeah, but we don't talk about the past, Ryan. We only talk about the future of higher education here. But we give you a word or phrase, and I want you to give me your first word, phrases, and feel free to elaborate. First thoughts that come to your head. Okay?
Okay, I'm not good at these games. I'm telling you that up front.
You're going to be...
Fire.
You'll be ready. I know you'll be ready. Here we go. All right, we'll give Ryan the first one so that you get a taste of what this is like. All right, Ryan, you ready?
Ready.
Outcomes.
Learners reaching their potential.
Okay, Parminder. Outcomes.
Working learners having an awesome life.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, our Parminder, it goes to you, the next one. Retention.
Smart investment with an equitable, sustainable future.
Ryan, retention.
It's killing me, Joe.
I was going to hit that anyway, no matter what answer you had.
It's rigged.
We're going to go to the judges.
I'll say not enough, and I'm happy to explain it.
Go.
If employers only think about retention, they're missing the opportunity to engage in something mutually beneficial in the way that Parminder was describing, that helps society, helps themselves far beyond thinking about retaining the next employee that's about to bail. And I think a lot of companies are short-sighted that way.
Yeah, it's retention is a bit. Retention in school, retention in employers. This is a big issue of our time now. There's so many people displacing themselves and employers deciding whether to or whether not to invest in those people. It's really interesting space. All right, go ahead.
That was actually so good. I'd like to jump in on that.
Go.
And I think that, retention is a key metric that everybody has always been looking at, whether you look at 2-year, 4-year, 8-year graduation rates. What are they going to 10-year graduation rates now?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of thinking about how do you dynamically take things around you, assess dynamically, move dynamically, and focus on that rather than having to sign up for things for life when nothing is in a fixed state. You look at computers, you know, I talked about that's what I'm educated in, is in networking, et cetera. The basic concepts is all around the dynamism of life. Life is not static. Why do we keep wanting to institute metrics that are about the static world when the world is a living, dynamic place that we live in? So I love that answer.
That's the sound you get for correct answers, Ryan. I just wanted you to hear it. So we
That
could get
was
it to you one of
Ryan's
these days.
answer. It was Ryan's answer.
I got to hear it for the first time. Incredible.
This
We
I actually
won.
just for the record, I have this. I name my buttons. This is the Ryan button. It just became. I don't know how it became the Ryan button. But you're a good sport, Ryan. Thanks for playing along. All right, here we go. Ryan, educational innovation.
Inspiring and absolutely necessary.
Oh, sorry, that was the wrong button there. I just want... Parminder, educational innovation.
Making it easy, relevant, affordable, flexible, so that everyone can succeed in life and in education rather than just a few.
Okay, last one, Parminder. Non-traditional students.
I hate that word. I don't agree with it. I think you're a student, you're a learner, everybody learns. And I don't think you have to go from, those are artificial boundaries that we humans have created, and we need to throw them out.
Like it. Ryan, non-traditional students.
Lifelong learner. So I'll counter it.
Love it, Ryan.
There you have another episode of Higher
I
Ed
don't
Word
want to
Association.
play. I don't want to play against Ryan anymore.
Lucky for you, the game is over. Parminder.
Yay!
I do want to say, I love what you said, and I feel the same way. I was coming here to my new gig at Lindenwood, and I actually saw some marketing material that said non-traditional learners, non-traditional students, and I thought to myself, I don't want to be called that. I like adult student or working student or something that some qualifier that makes me feel less, I don't know, non-traditional. Like what does that mean exactly? So I started talking to the staff here. I'm like, we got to change the way we put that. Like who's going to understand that they're even non-traditional? What does that even mean? Adult was better. Like, yeah, I'm an adult. I can be a student, right? I mean, it's like a better qualifier, don't you think?
I actually love that. So when I was at the ACT Foundation, one of the things we did was, instead of having the benefit of the research go to, the big consulting companies out there, what we said was, you as working learners, why don't you as all these named categories of at-risk, dropouts, stop-outs, all these labels, why don't you come to the table and tell us what you want to be called? And they're the ones who came up with working learners, because they're like, well, we have to work, we have to learn, we have to put it together. Why can't we be called something that unifies us instead of labels us and divides us, and also puts us into the negative category rather than the positive category of what we are? So I agree with you 100% that, if you're going to call somebody something, why don't you first ask them what's most important to them and what they want to be called, instead of us saying you should be called that.
Ryan, what do you think about that?
It's also, I love this part of the conversation. It's also a part of the culture change I think we've got to drive. We've got to remove the stigma that's been placed on people that choose anything other than the four-year traditional approach. And I think this is probably the greatest challenge we face, because that cultural change it's going to be cataclysmic to get it to shift, but we've got to go there. And it all comes back to the dignity and the extraordinary potential of the individual learner, the individual, regardless of where they've come from or regardless of where they are right now.
Yeah.
there's dormant and incredible, extraordinary potential in these individuals, and the system should do everything it can to empower them. And the labels we put on people, it suppresses it. So I'm with you both. I think this is really important.
You know how I brought it up, Brian, and then I'll kick it to you for another question. I said to the team here, I said, put a bunch of adult students in a room and say, you guys are non-traditional learners, or you guys are adult learners, and tell me which one is going to have a better reception. If you actually say it almost like you're digging at them, one of them you could take really negatively. It's a really interesting phenomenon, and it's such inside baseball. Non-traditional learner is an inside baseball term.
It is.
We externalized it. We, higher education, externalized it, but it was an inside baseball. You had your traditional, and a student that didn't fit the standard academic year became non-traditional. It was like, oh, that makes sense. And we're going to start telling people. It just gets under my skin a little bit because I was that person, like many other people. I had 10 years outside of my bachelor's to my master's. I had horrible grades because I found beer and girls and all the things that you find when you're in college, and didn't go to class. And then it's like 10 years later, I got a kid, and it's like I'm way more serious. And it's, don't tell me I'm non-traditional. I feel pretty traditional. I can still crush it if I want to take a program. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox and give it back to you guys.
I love that. It's like if we referred to water as 2 molecules of hydrogen or 2 atoms of hydrogen, put it together with, like your inside baseball term thing, that would never work. Or even the name of, pig being changed from, for the meat being changed from pork to ham so that it becomes easily
digestible.
palatable. Yeah, there you go.
This is talking about meat.
It matters. It matters what you call it.
Ryan.
So Parminder, what are you most excited about for the next chapter of Unmudl? You've achieved a certain status, but the future is in your hands. What are you excited about?
I'm really excited about the stories that are starting to come out of Unmudl for working learners, to starting to see successes of where they begin to go to work or what next job they get, and what credential assets they're starting to stock up into their portfolios, build up in their portfolios. To me, I think that, when you choose a drone course out of Unmudl, one of the unique things about Unmudl is it's not just online. High Flex is actually the niche course, because teach what you can online, but then go into the community college labs, get your hands on it, put the two together so you have the most learning possible. And so whether you take a drone course, and there's one guy who started up his own drone business out of that, commercial drone business, by the way, looking into what he wanted to do next, or whether it's becoming a brand manager at TikTok, or whether it's going onto the sets at Netflix outside of Albuquerque to work on things. All of that matters for the future, for the current time that students, that working learners are experiencing what they need to experience so that they can build those options into the future. That's what I'm most excited about, is every single story for a working learner that comes out of Unmudl. It's that future.
Incredible.
Well, since you answered my what does the future of higher ed question look like way earlier than I would have asked it, Parminder.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. It's good because I get to leave you kind of with the final word, and talking about Unmudl, and maybe you can connect them. Maybe you can connect these things. But what do you want to say about Unmudl? What did we miss? What didn't we ask you? By the way, I do want to have everybody know one thing that I know, that you shifted some people around. You have a VP of the learning marketplace now because you guys are growing so fast. And Julian, who's come and co-hosted with me several times, and people have heard his voice before. So I want to note that you're growing rapidly. But what else do you want to say about Unmudl that you want everybody to know?
Wow, that's a tough one. I think what I really want everybody to know about Unmudl is drop the paradigms of higher education when you come into Unmudl. and think about a future that benefits more than just yourself. And with that mindset, use Unmudl to help the people around you. It's a skills to jobs marketplace that allows you to get rid of the constraints that you have around you today and to make that future real. So give it a shot and try it. And most of all, please, please, please share with us your success stories, because that's what we're here for, is to benefit the working learners, benefit the colleges, benefit the employers, and benefit the economy overall.
100%.
We support you, Parminder. I will tell you that. Ryan, what do you think about all this Unmudl and our conversation today?
I'm so inspired by the innovation, the seamless connection between the learner, the learning, and work. And I think we need a lot more of it. So I applaud it, and I'm so excited to be admiring from a close proximity what you're doing, Parminder. It's awesome.
Thank you, Ryan. And now I wish I had actually thought about my answer. It's all about outcomes, right? It's where you started, where you opened the conversation. It's all about outcomes, Joe and Ryan.
That's why we do that game. If you find out really interesting things that people say when you just put them on the spot like that, in a good way. And there's just lots of things to talk about. One thing I want to talk about is just how darn good my guest co-host was today. So good, in fact, that I'm going to rename the button. Ladies and gentlemen, Executive Director at the Charles Koch Foundation, Ryan Stowers. Ryan, nice job.
Thanks, Joe.
Just for memory's sake. And of course, my guest today. She's outstanding. She's amazing. She's one of a kind. So appreciative of you and your work, Parminder, and what you're doing to innovate within higher education. You have big fans over here at the EdUp Experience of what you guys are doing on Unmudl. She is Parminder Jassal. She's CEO and co-founder of Unmudl. Thanks for coming today, Parminder.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.